Happy New Year, traders. It's 2024, and it is the first Trader Bacon show of the year. I am your host, Gates Adams, and I am so excited to be here with you guys today. I feel like it's been a minute. Welcome back. We've got some exciting stuff for you today. I did want to take a moment to address the fact that, yes, Apex Trader Funding has breached $80 million in payouts. Again, when it comes to trader funding, the whole key is how much is getting paid to traders. There's a lot of talk about everything else, but when it comes down to it, what you want is money in your hands, and that's what Apex Trader Funding is provided. Now, that said, we're going to jump in today. We're going to be talking with Trevor from Trade Beacon, and he's got some great insight and exciting news for you today, and we'll get right on into it as we enter into today's Trader Bacon Show.
Welcome to the Trader Bacon Show, where we showcase everyday traders that are getting funded, paid, and bringing home the bacon. Are you ready? Because the Trader Bacon Show starts right now.
Trevor, what's going on, my man? It looks like you are muted. There you go.
There we go. Sorry, I didn't want to talk when you were talking. No, it's been it's a great morning. Happy to be in 2024 and excited for a new year of trading.
Awesome. Well, welcome to the show. I think it bears repeating that your organization is not Trade Bacon, but it is Trade Beacon. I know we've both had a chuckle over that, looking at it and having that double take. So anyway, well, welcome to the show, my man, and Happy New Year. How's everything going so far?
Everything's going great. Last week I was on vacation with my family, so I didn't do much trading last week, and it's always frustrating to not be able to trade, but it's important to spend time with your family and lock in those hours and fill up the love bucket, as they say.
100%. And of course, one of the reasons people do move into the space of trading is because of the flexibility and because the time commitment is potentially, if things are done right, significantly lower than your typical 9-to-5 type job. So obviously, that only does us any good if we take the opportunity to take advantage of it when it comes up. So glad to hear that. So talk to me. Let's get a little bit of background on you. How long have you actually been trading at this point?
So I've been trading 3 years now. So I started in December of 2020, I guess.
Okay.
So I didn't get into the first, like when COVID started and everyone was getting into the day trading and Robinhood. The GME thing was kind of my first taste of trading. Probably not a great thing, but I saw a lot of people having success with options, and you see all these Instagram traders and stuff like that. I definitely got sucked in, and it's been a wild trip since then, for sure. I love trading. I miss the days where I wasn't following FOMC minutes or a call. They're about to, Powell's about to come out at 2:00. Like, the ignorance is definitely bliss, I think, when I didn't really realize any of those things that was happening. 9:30 in the morning would come and go, and I wasn't like waiting for the market to open.
So yeah, there's definitely a simplicity to not necessarily having all of that information and knowing these key factors and how they affect the market. But what has that done to your trading as you've progressed and learned about the different dynamics that go into, well, the response of the market?
I mean, 3 years later, it's amazing that I've made it 3 years. To come into the market every day and to not know what's going on, I think, is a huge mistake. I know a lot of new traders come in and they don't know what's going on, and they just think, is today up? I remember asking a buddy, like, is today up? Is today down? Like, if you don't know, you probably shouldn't be trading that day, or maybe you shouldn't be trading at all. You kind of want to, like, I feel like when you've been in it a couple years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, you have that feeling and you kind of know where things are. And to come in completely ignorant and to be long in a trade at 9:59 and there's U of M consumer confidence numbers are about to come out, and oh my God, I just lost 100% on my premium. It's like, didn't you realize that data was coming out at 10? I mean, especially now, you really have to keep your head on the swivel.
100%. So So that, that brings to mind, yes, most people, the first thing that they're going to learn is some sort of a strategy, a trigger and a reaction, right? But that will only get you so far. In fact, there's a lot of systems that are pretty solid, pretty consistent when you just have that piece of information. But what do you think happens to the dynamic when you really do have that understanding of the underlying mechanisms that move the market?
Yeah, I mean, technical analysis, some people think it's not real, some people think it is real. If it works, it works. I don't think you can really say whether it's real or not. But obviously, there's fundamentals to the market, a lot of the macro stuff, and that can kind of lead you to not go long when we just had a 700-point rip. But macro, the war in Israel, it's just sometimes it feels like the market just wants to go up, and you kind of got to jump in sometimes. And I think that the strategies that are more like trend based when we are in some sort of trend, I think are good. And yeah, I don't know. There's so much information out there, and it's easy to psych yourself out. I remember reading some tweet that said that there are people out there that are making 10 times as much money as you, who are 10 times as smart as you, because they're not smart enough to doubt themselves. And there's a certain truth to that. The people that have the 1,000% gains on an option that lost 100% of the premium, but they held on because, hodl. But yeah, there's a lot of strategies, and if you can find something that works for you, I think that the more you get back to basics, the better.
Right. So there's a million different strategies. There's a million different ways to look at the market. For you, what has it been that's really resonated with you in terms of like how you select what it is that you're looking at? And what have you found that just resonates with you in that format?
Back to what I said before, keep it simple, stupid. I luckily throughout my trading journey, I met a friend very, very early on that he was obsessed with supply and demand,
Mhm.
obsessed with Carmine Rosado. I mean, the OG Carmine Rosado. And that's all he traded. And it was very small moves, and it was options. And it's a very stressful time, I'm sure, when he was just doing options. But I wasn't following him as much as I should have, as far as always having the zones open. We discovered through conversation that you could have a shared trading view layout. You click the share button, and I remember looking back early 2021 where I had typed something. I was like, "Can you see it on my chart?" "Yeah, I can see it on your chart." I'm like, our world was expanded. I can see your charts, and you could see my charts. This is amazing. So supply and demand, I think, is one of the most basic principles in trading. There's unfilled orders that are sitting there, and you enter when you have the backing of a demand zone, or you enter short when it's a supply zone. That is super basic. And also just higher lows,
Mhm.
basic price strategy. I think that in my 3 years of trading now, I've gotten to the point where I'll think back, I'll look at some strategy and go, I was talking about this 3 years ago. And I'll
Right.
search my Discord chat history and go, literally, I've just, an inverted head and shoulders is just a higher low. I saw some video today. It's a Gartley 222 where, Wickoff's up thrust. I mean, it's all the same stuff.
Mhm.
You make a higher low, and you go long when it makes a higher low, and reverse for short.
So with all the fancy indicators and all of the resources that are available to traders these days, you're still going back to the basic fundamentals of what makes the market move. Is that fair?
100%. I mean, naked charting, uh, just basic price action, I think that's all you have at the end of the day. I mean,
Sure.
anyone that has lost money can go back and go, "God, why was I trying to long this bottom, or there was no sign of a reversal. Why did I keep trying to long?" You
Sure.
wait for the trend to change, you wait for a retest and a bounce, and that's when you go long. I mean, that's it.
Well, ultimately, so many of these indicators, really all they are is an interpretation of this type of information. So at
Mhm.
the end of the day, we're still going back to fundamentals. So let's talk about your trading day. So what is it that you actually do to prepare to get into your charts? Like what kind of setups do you do before your trading day begins?
So day to day, because we have, what is it, 12 tickers that have our zones on them. My business partner will go through and he'll set up the zones. He'll make sure no zones have changed. If stones have changed, he'll send them to me. I update the shared charts because we have these charts that we share with everyone that's in our Discord. And yeah, I mean, coming into the day, I'll look. One, I if I haven't been trading for a week like last week, I want to make sure I understand. Look at the daily candle charts. Look at higher time frames. Figure out where we are in a larger time frame and compress it down to 3 minute, 5 minute, 10 minute. See where we are in between zones. See if there's data coming out that day. I think it was investing.com you can subscribe for free and see what the schedule is that day. I definitely want to know what's going on because I can tell you, I can name them, the days where I had a trade that went against me and I didn't know that data was happening. Oh my God, like minutes are today, like the minutes are coming out today. I didn't even know that. So I want to make sure I know what data is coming out. I want to know if there's anything coming up that week, anyone's talking. And I want to know just where we are for in between zones or on a larger time frame.
Awesome. Now, before we quite get into it, I just want to remind everybody, because it has been a minute since we've been out, we are giving away some evaluations today. If you want your shot at that, which of course you all do, make sure to fill out that form. If the link was right there in the chat, you can see it right there at the bottom of the screen. So make sure you get that filled out so you have a chance. We're going to be giving those away at the end of the show. Now, that said, Trevor, why don't we, you're talking about your charts and the zones and the things that you guys share. Why don't we take a look at that and see what that actually looks like for you?
For sure. So as I said before, my buddy Stanzy Benz, he has his own Twitter handle and his own Discord as well. In the last 3 years, we've been talking about supply and demand. He would hand draw his zones. In September, we were like, you know what? Why don't we create an indicator that we can load up the supply and demand zones and have a strategy that would trade off of zone bounces and zone rejections. So this chart is SPY, obviously, and this is something that we share with everybody. And what I found in my trading story is I've been in a lot of Discords. When I first started, I was always chasing the next alert. If I could have only been in that Discord when that guy alerted Facebook, I would have been a millionaire or whatever. And the thing that really annoyed me about it was, you've done everything, you followed this person, they've alerted it, but they have their own chart and you still have to bring up your own. And then you have to decide whether you want to get in. And it always annoyed me. And that was something that we talked about very early with the shared charts. It's like, I just want to see what you see. And that's why people are always clamoring for voice sessions or screen shares, because they just want to see what you're looking at. So that's like the principle of everything that we're doing is these shared charts. So what this chart is, supply and demand zones that are hand drawn, that change, that you don't have to update, but we update for you. And this indicator that we've created is a strategy, just zone bot strategy, and it trades off of these zones. So this particular tab is just the zone bot running, and it actually does trades between 9:30 and 10:30 in the morning when volume is high. You can see that there's like low volume indicators saying that, hey, this is low volume. It's still an entry, but it's low volume. And it's pretty wild. There are days where it doesn't work great because we're super choppy, but I mean, these weren't drawn in after. This hasn't changed. If we're between zones, it's annoying. And sometimes people will say, hey, we missed this giant uptrend because we're between zones, or it wasn't a clean zone bounce entry or whatever. So what we ended up doing is creating a new thing, which is our trend bot. So this one doesn't do live trades. It shows the entries, but this is as basic as it gets. Just a simple EMA crossover to show when the trend has changed. Okay. And then we're waiting for a rejection and then bounce on the trend. Because there's a million indicators that show you, oh, the trend has changed. But like, if it doesn't retest and bounce, or retest, a bounce and rejection for short, how do you know when to get in? So that goes back to the original thing of just the high or low. This right here in this trend, it changes up, but we don't see a bounce. Does a downtrend, it doesn't reject, so it's not a short, changes up, and now we have an actual bounce. There's your long entry. I mean,
Right.
that's every single amazing entry I've ever had has been that same sort of inverted head and shoulders, higher low sort of thing.
Got it.
So yeah, so the lines on the bottom, it's just a combination of average true range. The thicker lines are using tick, so the percentage of tickers in the New York Stock Exchange that are on an uptrend versus a downtrend. So it's just a lot of like confluence sort of stuff, but still, you need to know what's going on in the market that day. And I would advise anyone, whether it's using our Discord or any service or alerts or whatever, don't just be chasing an alert. You should know what's going on, because when a day happens where it is a trend day, everyone knows it. You're sitting in it going, oh my, I knew that this was going to happen. And then because you wasted money in the last week trading chop, you don't enter. And that's super sad. So this is another chart that we share. So we share 16 tickers of just the trend bot. What we ended up doing is combining the trend with zones. So ultimately we have this one, which is just the trend bot, and this one, which is the trend bot overlaid onto the zones. It doesn't show the trend entries because it would get a little confusing with zones. But yeah, it's something that's worked really well for us, and it's something that's worked really well for the people that trade with us. In our Discord, we've got a lot of different channels where all these alerts come in. You can subscribe to them, notification rolls. It's pretty awesome. Chart links. So every day these get updated. So you don't have to have your own charts. You could still have your own charts, but yeah, it's like if you've done all the work to make your chart amazing, why make someone else do the work and do it on their own chart?
That's awesome. So now we're looking at some potential entries that you've shown us here on the chart here, and that's of course a big part of the story. But the other part of the story is how you protect yourself and how you access the profitability. So how do you set your risk and reward, and what is it that triggers an out versus an in?
Yeah, so for the zone strategy, it's a lot easier, or at least
Mm-hmm.
for creating the entries and exits for the actual strategy.
Mm-hmm.
We have it trim at certain profit levels, profit percentages. If it makes it to the next zone, it'll always trim. The stop loss is an exit on the other side of the zone.
Okay.
So that's kind of the reason why you would use supply and demand, because you have this thing that's behind you. So if you're waiting to go long as we come down here, if you went long here, the stop would be down here versus here. Oh my God, where am I going to end? And I've gotten into trades where I'll go long here thinking that's just going to be some random V-shaped thing, and it always comes back down to that zone. So for us, the risk reward would be the distance between two zones versus the height of the actual zone.
So
and as far as trend goes, I mean, there's no real. It's like you could wait for the trend to change. You kind of have to make those determinations for yourself. But yeah.
Now, are you going to scale out once it reaches that next zone, or are you going to completely close the trade once you reach that next zone level?
So by the point that it would get to that next zone, probably it'll enter 4, and it'll probably only have 1 left. So it would trim that completely.
Got it.
And that's what's a little bit difficult when you're working with zones and during a trend. It's like you don't want to. It's kind of why we gave people that option of having the trend bot, the zone bot. It's all sort of combined. You can make that determination. Hey, this trend isn't changing down. Maybe I should continue to be in this trade. Because as you said before, there is no perfect system, and there's always going to be days that don't work or trend days that obliterate zones. I mean, Stanzy Benz, I remember him when we first started talking. He'd be like, I hate trend days because I only do supply and demand zones. So that's why we're like, well, we need that. It looks like we need to have some sort of trend bot or indicator.
Right. Now, and that's one of those things. This is one of the things that I've always heard about trading. Even a winning trade can be super unsatisfying because the likelihood of reaching the absolute peak or the absolute valley is virtually impossible. Yes, there's some indication, and we might get lucky from time to time. It may just fit within what we're seeing. But if you see a move that continues on another 10, 30, 50, 100 points, and you could have been in it. You were in it and you got out early. There's that mental dissatisfaction with not having hit the whole thing. Is this something that you've run across?
For sure. I mean, during the day, I've kind of been trading more, uh, Apex. Obviously, that's why we're
Mhm.
here. And you can't swing, can't swing with Apex. And I've been more concentrating on taking profit and securing profits. Definitely during swings, there have been swings where you're looking at a smaller time frame and go, okay, there's going to be a pullback. I'll get back in, and then we don't pull back, and all of a sudden you missed out on 300 points. But I think at the end of the day, going back to what I originally said about being on vacation with my family last week, there's always more trades. Like
Right.
anytime that I quote unquote missed a trade, a week later something else happens. I mean, there have been so many crazy trades in the last 3 years that there's always something, and you don't want to be overworked and stressed out and chopped up. And then by the time something good happens, you're just like, I don't even have any money left, or no buying power, or I just don't have the mental capacity for this.
So what's the key for you as to whether or not to trade? In other words, when you go into the charts, is there an expectation that you're trading today?
I don't know. That's a good question. Um, I don't know. I mean, it's hard. It's hard to not have the charts open. I mean, everyone. Maybe it's an addiction. I don't know. I'm sure everyone has that same feeling. No, it's. Have I been less productive as a person since trading? 100%. Um, always feeling like there's something to take. I definitely feel less FOMO, and less of I have to trade today now that I do not do options. I don't have money in an options account, so I only trade MES if I'm using my own funds,
Mhm.
or ES if I'm on an Apex account. Um, no, I think that's I can another I can think back to the times that I have not done well, and it's just been, hey, I'm going to trade today, and I have no reason why
Mhm.
of trading. And I think there have been moments where I've had to not trade, not because of a decision that I made, but just, hey, I went on vacation or something, and it just, oh, it makes you feel so much better. Like I actually have some control. It's the same thing as like social media. It's like deleting your account for a week is probably a good thing. There have been days where I don't check the charts at all, and then you look back and I go, man, good thing I didn't trade today. Nothing happened.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I like to trade. I enjoy it.
Mhm.
But having a service that's been more of making sure that the machines are running, so I have to stay engaged. But
Sure.
yeah, there have been a lot of days where I've worked more on the notification system and the charts, and I haven't actually taken a trade because I've been just making sure that everything works.
Wonderful. Now, of course, everybody, make sure you get that form filled out so you can get your shot at one of those evaluations that we're giving away. We'll put that link right there back in the chat here in just a second. So you talked about your Discord channel and what it is that you guys are showing and presenting. Is that at Trade Beacon?
Yeah, so the website is just tradebeacon.io. We have a Twitter presence as well. The Discord will be paid at basically market close today. So if you wanted to hop in and poke around on the charts and stuff, I can send the link in the chat, but the link is on our Twitter profile.
Okay.
But yeah, so the service is $50 a month. I think it's extremely reasonable. I'm super unbiased in that there's a lot of value here. Uh, it's not for everyone. If you're looking for someone to spoon feed you alerts, definitely not that. It's a lot of automation and complementing your own strategies, and it's a lot of futures based too.
Right. And Easy Mike made a point earlier that I think is valid and comes up here. There's quite often some delay in the alerts, and by the time you actually see the alert, it may be too late. So there is definitely an interactivity that needs to be taking place, and just the alerts can be very helpful, but a simple reliance on them, of course, is not the way to go, in my opinion. Now we have a question here: how many positions do you trade, and what's the size of your? He says evaluation, but I assume he means the PA.
Oh, for me personally, I've just stuck with the trade debate, the $25,000 ones.
Yeah.
Positions wise, I mean, one. I mean, I don't know if it means a contract size. I'll
Sure.
trade ES at most two, but I'm pretty much doing one. And
Right.
if I could make a couple $100, $500 in a day, that would be a good day. I think after the last 3 years of working and needing to kind of show something to my wife, particularly, it's been more about like having payouts and consistency to it, and not feeling like I could just leave this money in there forever. So
My that's fantastic. And I got to say, Mike, you're killing me. Yes, like two people running from a tiger. I just have to be faster than you uh, on the alerts. Thank you for that little break in the action here. So absolutely, look, and there's this, as we talked about, there's a million ways to get this done, but for someone to be a consistently successful trader, one of the biggest keys is that understanding of self. And what I mean by that is understanding what works for you. Now, Trevor, what you figured out, what works for you, is also obviously something that's been helpful to a lot of other people, which is why you even have the Discord up in the first place. Now, for traders that want to seek a little bit more information on that, you said that the link is there on the Twitter page. Is the Twitter at Trader Bacon? I'm sorry.
yeah,
About,
it's trade. It's just
at Trader Bacon. No, at Trade Beacon.
yes, it is. It's just Trade Beacon. You can go to tradebeacon.io if you wanted to just
Okay.
subscribe. But yeah, so I can put the link in the chat as well.
Awesome. So obviously, as you guys are moving forward with this service, this is an indication of how you guys are doing. What has the world of trading and moving into this space done for you over the course of the last few years that you've been in this game? We'll call it a game for this purpose.
The good stuff or the bad stuff? The good stuff. I consider him my best friend. We became internet friends 3 years ago, and we met IRL a couple times, and we started this business together. Without him, I don't know where I would be as far as life or my trading journey for sure. I think a lot of people look at trading as it's how rich people make money. It's like it's one of those things. Unless you're buying real estate or working on Wall Street or in finance or something, I don't know how like the everyman is making that kind of money. And I think that was the big, the whole GameStop thing was like, hey, power to the players. A normal guy can risk $1,000 on an options play and make $1 million sort of thing. I don't think that that's realistic, but I do think that with a lot of discipline, you can make a lot of money or make enough to have it as a side gig. Having a full-time job is a lot easier. It's a lot less stressful. People always think that, if I could only do trading full-time, it'd be a lot easier. I don't think that's necessarily true. Yeah, I mean, there's money out there. A lot of money is exchanging hands. I like the Apex model of not having to use your own money. But with Apex, I found that like I'm just wasting my own time, which it's not money, but still, like if I blow and if I do an eval or blow an account or something, could be weeks before I'm back, and that's enough reason for me to go. I need to be extremely strict with my trading and not be just degenning into something or YOLOing into something. So
Well,
yeah, I
that's
think
it.
yeah.
Yeah, the limited risk is definitely a benefit, but that value of time, I know a lot of people will try to keep something in reserves. They'll have some evaluations that are past ready to roll if they need to transition because of that. And that makes sense for some people. That doesn't make sense for everybody. But what it is an opportunity to figure out again. I don't want to hammer this down into the ground, but whatever works for you is what's best for you. That's one of the unique things about trading. There are best ways to do a lot of things. With trading, there's not really a best way. What's best is what works for you. And a lot of that comes down to the psychology and the mindset of the game. And you talk about discipline, which is, if any of you follow me online, discipline is my word of the year. It's one of those things where it was like there was this necessary pivot. And so I'm going through this massive push to address discipline in my life. And the one thing that I know is that plays into trading probably as big or bigger than pretty much anything else in my life. Well, listen, man, I appreciate you. This has been a lot of fun. We are about here at the half hour. So the one thing I want to say is we will not be here next week with Martin Luther King Day. We've got the holiday. So we will be back in 2 weeks with another phenomenal show. Trevor, thank you so much. Check them out at tradebeacon.io or on Twitter /tradebeacon. And from here, man, I appreciate your time. Thanks for hanging out with us today.
Thanks, Gates.
You got it. We'll see you guys in 2 weeks. Have a great one.
Welcome to the Trader Bacon Show, where we showcase everyday traders that are getting funded,